Hey guys, before we start this video, I just want to make a little disclaimer. I'm not a historian. This is just a story I fell in love with a long time ago. I think it's really badass, and I just want to sit down and talk to you about it while I do my makeup. If there's anything that's factually incorrect, feel free to leave it in the comments down below. Also, I would always encourage you to check out the stories on your own because history is really interesting. So there we go. There's a YouTuber called Bailey Sarian. I think that's how her last name is pronounced. Pretty sure her first name is pronounced that way. She does like a murder mystery makeup get ready with me, and they're like the most addictive videos ever. I love them. I love them so much. Like, you need to go watch them. I'll link them down below. But, like, I'm not really into murder mysteries in the sense of, like, other than, you know, they're kind of fascinating, but I don't really have a lot to, like, say about it. But I am really into history, like, to the point where it gets a little bit weird. Like, live in the present, Michelle. I did this for part of my dissertation where I, like, kind of told a little bit about the history of Denmark and America and kind of how it all came together to basically my parents meeting and me being born and like where sort of our culture comes from. And I love talking about that shit, and I love making jokes about that shit. So I wanted to do that again, and it's Women's History Month. We just had International Women's Day. Yes, I know we also have an entire fucking month. I know, it's very surprising. So anyone who gets mad about us having like a day out of the year, we also have a month, bitch. Now sit down and shut the fuck up, because I'm about to tell you about a badass woman and you're about to listen. So I was first introduced to this bit of history in school when I was like, I don't know, like 14 or 15, maybe it was earlier. I don't know. I just remember it. It was like the first time that like I felt, I don't know, like empowered by history. I wanted to know more. I was like, fuck yes, girl. And it's about Queen Margrethe the First of Denmark, Sweden, and Norway. Okay, she got them all. Yeah, so I was first introduced to this story in school, and I was like, this is the best thing ever. And it's like one of those historical moments that I like often think about. And then I feel really sad that she's like not more celebrated and talked about, and it's like the actual details of her story aren't being discussed. So that's what we're gonna do today. And I'm just gonna try and like briefly, you know, talk about her and what was going on and how this badass bitch unified Scandinavia. And for those of you who don't know, Scandinavia is Denmark, Norway, and Sweden. I'm so sorry, Finland and Iceland. You ain't involved in this one right now. Set the mood. It's 1353. It's raining, it's gray, it's horrible, it's March. And I'm not saying that because it's 1353. I'm saying that because it's Denmark, and that's just how the weather is. Margaret was born. She was currently the sixth and the youngest child of King Valdemar. I will be pronouncing some of these names in Denmark. I will be pronouncing some of these names in Danish because I just like, I don't know, just falls more naturally. Try and keep up. So she was actually born in the prison of a castle here in Denmark. Because her dad was like, I don't wanna speak rudely about the death, but her dad was a fucking dick. He had already imprisoned her mother. So she was born in there, which is like unique couples therapy if you imprison your wife. So at the age of 6, she was engaged to Håkon of Norway. Now he was the youngest son of the Swedish-Norwegian king Magnus. I don't know how to say that name in English. I would have to like, how do you translate that name? Like Magnus? That's weird. Okay, that's fucking weird. I don't like that. Anyways, as part of like the marriage contract, it was kind of like presumed that there would be a treaty to help Magnus kind of defeat Eric of Sweden, who held dominance over southern Sweden, which is like really close to Denmark, and we're like really interested in this shit, right? Her marriage, surprise, surprise, as every woman at the time, was part of a power struggle in the Nordic countries. Oh, I'm using the I Divine Oh So Special. I haven't really tried this out, so it'll be very interesting to see where we go with this. I'll link all the products down below. Everyone's like, oh my god, you're getting married. Congratulations. And she's like, I'm 6. There was a little bit of dissatisfaction in some of the power circles. And Bridget of Sweden wrote to the Pope and was like, this is children playing with dolls. And like literally she was 6. So like she was not wrong. The marriage contract contained an agreement that would get Helsingborg Castle back to Denmark. So we were all like, that's nice. But like of course for like her dick of a father, that was just like not good enough. He's like, I want more, I want land. In 1359, he like takes a large army across Öresund, which is like the little bit between Denmark and Sweden, and he goes into Skåne, which is like the most southern part of Sweden that's really close to Denmark and like part of Denmark sometimes. I mean, if you ask Swedish people now, it's still part of Denmark. And then if you ask Danish people, we don't know what the fuck it is and we don't want it. So mostly this attack was kind of seen as a way for Magnus, to kind of attack Eric. So everyone was like, okay, cool, bro. Like, you just do you. It's kind of like when you're like a drunk, inappropriate uncle shows up at the wedding party. Like, we're all like, fuck. But like at the same time, we're all like, if we just don't say anything, he'll just like go away, right? Anyways, Eric fucking died. He was just like, I'm out, bitches. So he died, and everyone's like, fuck, what do we fight about now? Like, Eric's dead. Well, shit. So all of the agreements were like terminated because Valdemar didn't want to leave. He was like, oh, you thought I was helping you out, bitch. You wrong. Okay, I was helping myself out. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm here for me. So he didn't withdraw. Instead, he was like, I need more. I want more. This is mine. Okay, I ain't here to help nobody. So he just like continued to just go occupy shit. And of course, everyone's like, dude, what the fuck? Like, you're embarrassing us. Like, all the Danish people were like, but why? Like, maybe like fix your own house before you go after Sweden. This is embarrassing. Like, they already think we're really rude and shit. Stop making it worse. Well, he fucking made it worse because then he like went and occupied like a bunch of shit with his like army, spending a bunch of money. So they were like, fuck you, dude. I'm gonna marry my son off to this other girl from like Germany. So this girl, she was on her way to Sweden. Really cool. Gonna get married. She was like, yes, bitch, I'm about to be a queen. Bye. Well, then there was a storm. So she like got diverted to Bornholm, which is like this island next to Sweden, but it's kind of Danish. No one understands what the fuck they're saying, like, ever. It's really nice though, and it's warm in the summer. She like arrived there thanks to this like magical storm. And then the archbishop was like, whoa, your marriage isn't going to be legitimate, because he was like already betrothed to Margrethe. So like, no crown for you, honey. The Swedish armies were like, fine, you can have your fucking castle back. So then it was like, okay, well, I mean, there's no other marriage that's going to be legitimate except Margaret's and Håkon's. So we might as well just make this shit happen and just like, fuck it. Like, we'll forget about that time where you started invading all my land. So they get married. It was held in Copenhagen. Beautiful ceremony. A nice spring day in 1363, which I don't know what it would look like, but I'm guessing it kind of smelled like plague. And Margrethe remained in Denmark for some time after the ceremony because she's like fucking 10 at this point. Well, she was eventually shipped to Norway. And there she was raised by Margrethe, what the fuck is her name? Margrethe Ulvsteder. who is a noblewoman and the daughter of Bridget of Sweden. So time goes by, she's like chilling in Norway, and eventually she becomes like the actual wife, and she has a son named Olaf. And you thought contemporary names were bad? Try naming your son Olaf. During the years after her wedding, Scandinavia was like, this ain't going so well. So her only brother dies. So now her dad has no like male heir. So this is obviously a huge problem because it's like ancient times. In Sweden, there's like a whole shit show going down, and King Magnus, people are like, we don't fucking want you, okay? You kind of suck, and like take your son with you, you asshole. Like, they don't like him. So all the noble people were like, we have a better idea. We're gonna elect a new king because we know best, and this is just gonna be a marvelous idea. This is gonna go over so well. Spoiler alert, it did not go over well. So they elect Albert of Merkelberg, I don't know, as king of Sweden. So Margaret starts to feel like, oh crap, we're kind of losing some shitty power. Well, her fucking husband dies. Like, a bitch. Like, we're in the middle of some shit here, and he just fucking dies. Like, oh man, am I right? Like, they just go and die. So she's like, fuck, I need to secure some fucking power here. There ain't no other man, and we sure as hell ain't giving this fucking Albert person a reason to come knocking on my door, because I won't be answering. He is the king of Norway and Denmark, and you better fucking crown my son that, and I will rule in his stead because he's still like a tiny little child. He's like an infant. She's like, I got this. I'm just gonna be, you know, queen regent. I'm gonna rule for him until he's old enough, and this is all gonna go over well. And people are like, sure. I mean, a lady can speak. Okay, we're terrified now. So her fucking son dies. I know, men. Anyways, so she's like, obviously like, fuck, I just lost my kid. I can't also lose like my country. Who's it gonna go to? Like, we're not gonna have a Swedish person on the throne. So she's like, hey bitches, remember that time where I like made sure that the country was like super duper okay, and I got back part of Schleswig from like the Germans, and I throttled like any sort of thought of rebellion from Jutland, which is where I'm from, because of course we're fucking assholes in this story. She's like, I have kept this country from going under. I cleaned up the mess that my father left behind. Like, I got everything back to you. I've done really well, and I've ruled for a really long time at this point, like almost like 15 years. She's been a ruler for 15 years in her son's name, and she basically just like made sure the country was doing better and there was no like rebellion or instability. And they're like, fuck, shit, yeah, you did, okay. So you can be the queen regent, right, of Norway and Denmark. They're like, it's gone pretty well. In the meantime that all of this shit is happening, Sweden's over here like, oh, fuck, like, it's been 15 years. I think she forgot about us. Like, we're fine. You know, she's really busy with, like, the southern part of Denmark. So we're just gonna have, like, I don't know, like, crabfish and just, like, dance around a fire and, like, drink a lot of, like, Danish booze. I don't know what Swedish people do. To ride around in their boat. And she's like, hello. There's already a guy, obviously, who's, like, he's in arms against the very unpopular King Albert. Because, surprisingly, their fucking election, they ended up electing a buffoon who just, like, fucking ran the country. I mean, does that, like, I don't know, kind of relate to current day situations? I can't imagine what situation I'd be talking about. Anyways, so they're like, okay, fuck, help us out here. And she was like, and they, like, wrote her a letter. They're like, dear Queen Margrethe, you know how, like, I don't know, like, do you remember that time that we basically, like, kicked your husband out of the country and, like, took away, like, you know, the crown from your, oh, it's really sunny. Sorry, I'm just gonna, I look human again. Sorry, I just had to fix the lighting a little bit because it was getting kind of intense. Anyways, So they're like, remember all that? Because, like, we don't. Can you please help us get rid of Albert? Like, fuck, we really fucked this shit up. So she's like, let me think about it. Okay, here's my army. I'm going to invade you. Boom! So she, like, marches into Sweden. Everyone's already like, fuck yeah. So she, like, comes up with a bunch of conditions. And they're, like, already like, fuck, man. Okay, please. Yes. Yes. You will be our sovereign lady and ruler. Okay, queen. Yes, queen. Like, literally, though. Like, literally, yes, queen. Because, like, she was the queen. And they're like, okay, sure. Albert, he's, like, fucking pissed off. So he, like, comes up with the best plan possible to nickname her King Pantsless. I mean, talk about a burn. I bet you he just, like, sat in his castle and was like, as he, like, wrote down King Pantsless. And his, like, fluffy ass little pants, he was like, oh my god, I'm so clever, burn. Like, he was like every single internet troll ever. He's like, fuck yeah, I really destroyed you now. Murdered by words. Okay, sweetie, sure. So, while Albert here is making up clever little nicknames, feeling probably very pleased with his effort in that department, she's like, okay, whatever, bitch. Yeah, okay, I don't wear pants, but I'm still gonna kick your fucking ass. So she, like, shows up with a giant army. They have a battle. Now, her general does die, but he does win the battle for her. So she's like, okay, thanks, dude, whatever. Every man in my life fucking dies. She still ain't got Stockholm. But she has Albert. And she's like, I want Stockholm. So, instead of, like, being like, because, you know, she want to get on those really nice boat tours that they have and, like, sit by the harbor and enjoy some ice cream. It's really, really lovely if you go there in the spring. It's really nice. A little cold. I'm imagining summer is probably a lot better. But anyways, 10 out of 10 would recommend. So she's like, I want to get on a boat tour. Like, that's all I want. But she's like, And everyone's like, just fucking invade it. And everyone's like, ugh, freaking out, kind of. But she's like, no. Listen, I already got my countries, I got my capitals, I got my leadership. Dear Albert, I'm gonna make you a deal. Like, you clearly are not made out for prison life. Like, all you do is cry. And that's fair. Prison is not nice. So she's like, I'll release you if you promise to pay me a huge amount of money in the next 3 years. And he's like, sweet, I'm out of here. I'm out of prison. Dungeons are not a holiday destination. But Stockholm was the security. So if he couldn't pay, Stockholm would be hers. And he's like, fuck. I mean, these women are so stupid. All I have to do is just pay some fucking money. And then, like, I'm out of here. Well, he didn't fucking pay. So then Stockholm became hers. So she was like, okay, thank you. She gave them a bunch of, like, commercial privileges and stuff, and then Stockholm was hers. Victory, bitch. Everyone's like, oh, thank God, you know, Albert's gone. That problem's solved. But it was also kind of understood that she would be finding a king at the earliest convenient time. And this was, like, really enforced by Norway, who's like, whenever you got time, I don't know, could you maybe just, like, make sure that we, like, also have a king, because this is still ancient times. Sweden is just like, honestly, we don't care. Can you just, like, rule for all of eternity, please? Please don't die. Like, we love you. You're doing so well, sweetie. But she's like, okay, I get it. Like, I'm not gonna live forever. I will die. Okay, I need to find a king who can rule all 3 countries when I'm gone. Obviously, I'm not gonna get married because everyone just fucking dies all the time. And, like, I don't need no man. So she's like, instead, I'm gonna get a son. But obviously, having no man, that's, like, you know, I don't know how you know how biology works. But so she's like, I'm gonna do some adoption. So she adopts her great nephew, what's his name? Eric, a Pomerania. His real name was Bogislav. Oh my god, I butchered that, didn't I? And she also adopts him and his sister, Catherine, you know, just in case we need a woman to clean up some mess in the future. Always good to have a woman on standby in case these men fuck it all up. again. He will rule when you're gone. In the meantime, can you please just, you know, stay? Please help us out. Please don't leave us. You will rule in the meantime while he's still a child. So she's like, okay, that's great. I have 3 kingdoms. I want to make sure that these 3 kingdoms stay together for my new kid, which is really nice, like a nice little present. So she drafts up the Kalmar Union, and it's like, hey, countries, you are going to stay together forever, and you're going to be unified in love and harmony. But she's really clever about it, because here's the thing about kind of taking over countries. Even though we seem very similar to each other, which we are, we're still different, especially when it comes to, like, you know, playing football and shit. Like, we're just like, we ain't the same unless, you know, one team is going further in the World Cup than the other. Then we are the fucking same, and we're together in this, okay? We're all winning when one team wins. So she's like, this is going to be an everlasting union. We're all going to be together forever. But, of course, she's smart as fuck. So she's like, hey, guys, I know that probably the people are going to be like, Denmark and Norway and Sweden, like, all together. But, like, some of us have dark hair and some of us has blonde hair. I don't know. So she's like, don't worry. Like, just because we're in this union doesn't mean that we're going to be starting to put in some sort of new culture or laws that you like, that, you know, you haven't already, like, agreed to. Like, anything different you get to, like, vote on. And by you, I mean obviously the nobility, because, like, people didn't have rights back then. So she's like, don't worry, peeps, this is all gonna be fine. Like, you still have some power. We ain't gonna force, like, culture laws. This isn't like a hostile takeover. This is a union of love and understanding and harmony, and we're just gonna have peace, and then, you know, be the strongest union in the world, which we're not quite sure how big is yet. And she's like, officials and soldiers are all gonna be recruited from within the country. Like, she understood politics. She was like, we ain't gonna push it. We know how people are kind of, like, sensitive when it comes to, like, their national identity and shit. Like, people get very, very defensive. I mean, is that not fucking true even today? Anyways, she was like, don't worry, we're not gonna push it. Like, we're all gonna be fine. And they're like, fuck yes. So in June 1397, they all signed a treaty, and Erik is crowned king of Denmark, Norway, and Sweden. And although the Union Act was never, like, 100% completed, in the sense that, like, you know, they never stayed a union forever, the legacy of the Kalmar Union still stands today. My mascara face renders me impossible to talk about history. But the Union of Norway lasted until 1812, which I'm like, that's fucking impressive. Like, what setting spray was she using on that union? That's all I want to know. Although Erik was technically the king of all these 3 nations, Margrethe did rule Scandinavia for her entire life. Like, she was definitely the boss. Anyways, guys, I'm done with my makeup. I think it came out okay. It's a little bit like, could I sit on a throne and rule? I think yes. Anyways, that was the story of the Kalmar Union and the boss lady Margrethe I, who made it happen. A union which is still talked about. It is still very present in our culture and our idea of, like, Scandinavia as a Nordic union, even though it's not technically, you know, in fact anymore. We still love each other, except, you know, at sports events. So I hope you enjoyed that little video with a little history lesson and a highlight of a really kick-ass woman in the Women's History Month. Alright, so if you like that video, please hit a thumbs up. If you want to see more history videos, do let me know in the comments, because I really fucking love history and I love makeup. So like combined, I'm just like, heaven.